Of course I know Watson works with doctors, but you know who else works with doctors? I do. Dr. Destructo, Dr. Misery, Dr. Jenkins. Technically, he's an orthodontist.
Salutations, you guys, and thank you for tuning into another edition of Crisis Corner. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and we're going to be going over the idea that the technocracy is rising. There are other examples, which I intend to go into later, that will explain this, or at least hopefully get out the idea that we are now starting to see the New World Order, or the New World System, come into play. I led this clip in with Lord Overbought from IBM's new commercial, where they were unveiling the quantum computing, or at least the artificial intelligent capabilities of Watson. And I'll be going into that later. But with all that being said, let's jump right into it. So I'm sure you're wondering, first off, what is a technocracy and how does that affect me? Well, to put it simply, a technocracy is, a government that's governed by technocrats, scientists, skilled elite who feel as though they have been gifted or blessed or endowed with the power to where they feel like they have to rule over us. And so this is what they do. And we can see this now with the cryptocracy we have, where we have shadow puppets behind everybody. We've got Barack Obama up there, and we saw this rear its ugly head, more importantly, during the George Bush presidency with 9/11. We all know Dick Cheney was the real president, you see. So to kind of double back and explain what a technocracy is now these people are deciding to choose what they think is best for us. Now they're deciding to genetically modify our food, tell us what the right proportions are, tell us when we should be happy and tell us when we should be sad. These people are conducting experiments on us, and it's through the advent of technology and the invention of advanced technologies, that they're able to conduct these experiments. One of the chief experiments or agendas, however you want to put them, one of the chief things that you guys see them popularizing, or at least putting out in front of people, is the idea that we need to clean up the planet. That we as humans are dirty. We've infested the planet long enough, and it's time for us to give back. This is coming in the form of Agenda 2030. It's also been called the Green Revolution, or the post-industrialization revolution. Okay, the idea behind it is that we as humans, with our carbon emissions, with all of our toxins, with all of our chemicals, with us as humans, are detrimental to this earth. Now, how does that sound? Sounds anti-human to me. Sounds like depopulation to me. Sounds like dehumanization to me. How does that sound? The fact that we are a cancerous item on this planet, and that these technocrats have devised a plan to cleanse the earth of its cancerous problem while simultaneously rebuilding the earth. That sounds noble, right? Sounds fantastic. That's what any common sense person would do. And I've said this before I jump to this. The only problem with this concept is its forced compassion. This will be a forced ideology. What happens whenever you can't travel someplace because you've used too much electricity? What happens whenever you haven't cycled enough water throughout your house? So now you're going to get a little bit more taxes. Okay? So we don't see all these things coming together as a global picture. We see them all as separate incidents. And because of this, it's very difficult for us to try to put the picture together. And if you want to try to put the picture together, think about all the crazy things that they're really doing to us daily to try to inhibit the natural power and the natural God-given strength that we have. Think about it. Chemtrails, fracking, poisons in our water, poisons in the food that we make, in the food that we eat, poisons in the sodas, poison everywhere, and we consistently digest these toxins, okay? And this is all for, how you say, the survival of the fittest, evolution. So if this is the case, then the adversaries, these people that are attacking us, that have these capabilities, they are the adversaries. They are the ones that are trying to defeat us. If this is the case, then they are clearly more evolved than us. And that is not the case. When you look at the evidence of everything, whenever you look at the pieces that they drop to us, it's depopulation while trying to subtly replace us. I went on a tangent. Let me explain to you this way. So Bill Gates, if you have a Windows computer, a Microsoft computer, I'm sure you've heard of him. He also does vaccines. He also tries to give off the idea that he's a philanthropist. He cares about the people, this, that, and the third. However, if you look at his formula, or I think it is CO equals P times S times E times C, if you look at the P of that factor, it's people. Okay, and then the E is the energies that they provide, and then the S is the services. The point I'm trying to get at is that Bill Gates is trying to depopulate us. He is trying to kill us. He is one of these technocrats. Back in 2014, we heard that Bill and Melinda Gates were in South America. What were they doing? Messing with genetically modified mosquitoes. 2 years later, what happens? We start hearing the outbreak of Zika virus, of microcephaly. Forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. Children being born with birth defects, deformities, smaller heads. And now, you can actually hear, you can go to any other place on the internet and you can look up the talk that Bill Gates is saying. We need to get the population down. We need to get the carbon down. We need to get the emissions of people down. These are all terms for this new world order. They can't publicly come out and start saying we need to kill people. They need to have a justifiable reason. What is that reason? Carbon. Our carbon footprint. Aren't we carbon? I'll get into that later. The point I'm trying to make is that they're trying to use clever wording. These technocrats are trying to use wordplay on how exactly they're going to kill us. I'm going to be showing you guys some footage where I found a document from the CDC where it's called Increasing the Awareness and Uptake of the Influenza Immunization. Okay, pretty much what it is, and you can see this right here. I'm sorry if it's going faster for you guys. Stop the video, look at it. What exactly it's showing you is that there is an organized and published document showing you that they are going to start raising awareness about flu-like symptoms, okay? About viruses. This is recent. Within, I think, the past 2-3 months, it's been put out, okay? And the idea is, look at the synchronicity of everything that is happening right now. For the CDC to put out this particular document shows you that they're getting ready. But for what? That is still unknown. We start hearing more and more cases of Zika popping up around the country. And if you've seen my Crisis Corner where I go over the Zika virus in South America, they are sending, Brazil specifically, they are sending 220,000 troops door to door to educate people about the Zika virus. Now, transfer that kind of concept over here. I don't think Americans would take too kindly to having troops on the street talking to us about how you should not get pregnant, how you should watch out for the symptoms. Because if you ask me, that sounds like Big Brother. That sounds like Obey. That sounds like the New World Order, okay? So whenever we start putting pieces together, like I said, we can see evidence of this technocracy rising. So hold on to your britches because it's definitely about to get a little bit more wicked and a little bit more crazy, okay? So with this concept of them conducting biological warfare amongst the general populace of the world, or at least the masses, the sheep, the people underneath these technocrats, what would be the best way to keep track of all of your profits, your results? If they were to spray chemtrails filled with aluminum, barium, and strontium, metallic flakes that would get softly absorbed into the body, okay? Hold on to that thought, okay? And then with the other part of the population, you inject them with a sort of transceiver or a receiver of some kind. Then through that concept, you now have someone that you can watch. You can see their vitals. You can monitor this individual. The concept I have behind that is the fact that they're going to introduce RFID chips through vaccines. They'll push this concept because of the hype that we are now starting to see because of the Zika virus. And I know what you're thinking. That's very strange. That's radical. That's not going to happen. Well, I can tell you that it already has happened. House Bill 1164 is designed to circumvent the law protecting privacy and bully every person into getting every vaccine in the market. It was introduced to require the reporting of non-vaccinated students to the Colorado Department of Health and Environment. Currently, those records are kept with the school. And so what this bill is not about is requiring more students to get vaccines. It's about who will keep charge of the records. Okay, and the idea behind this, what I'm trying to get across to you guys, is that whenever they do this, they're trying to see who has taken the mark, who has taken the piece, and where it's going, how the things have evolved, and what really is going on with the vaccines, with the poisons, and the things that are going out there. Okay, and as I've said before, with the chemtrails, there's aluminum, barium, and strontium, different types of metals. Okay, these all have adverse effects on our body. And when we do this, when we introduce these things into our system, we ultimately make ourselves vulnerable. The Technocrats, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, and this is how it ties into transhumanism, is that right now we are flawed in our current state. We're subject to a number of deformities, of abnormalities, and that we need technology, science, to make us transhuman, to make us H+, to be better than. So you see, this is a two-pronged attack. While they're trying to destroy us, they're also trying to offer us the salvation. Okay, is this not the Hegelian dialectic or problem reaction solution? You see, they're creating the problem. They're dehumanizing us, depopulating us, killing us with all of these famines, these sicknesses, these diseases. And then they're offering the solution, which is still not a permanent one. It's a band-aid on a scar. Their ultimate goal, as I've said before, is to merge us with computers. We're constantly hearing about how DARPA or the Defense Department or some new intelligence committee arm is developing new microchips or implantable technologies or even wearable technologies that interact with the human body. Okay, and what this is doing, what this is called augmentation. This augments what it means to naturally be human. Okay, the fact that they're figuring out how to translate your brain activity into binary code means that they're trying to figure out how to have the brain operate as if it is a computer and how it can and should process information. So if we were to take the brain and put it in some sort of mechanical body, well, would that not be a cyborg? Would that not be an android? And then we start getting into more and more depth about what it means to be human and what these people are doing, what these technocrats are doing. They're experimenting on the human condition. They say it's to try to alleviate the human condition, to lessen the stress and the conditions of it. But whenever we see these new technologies being invented, well, we get an idea as to what they're trying to do. So whenever I say they're replacing us or they're building the Matrix or building or having access to Matrix technologies, you have to look at them peripherally as all components of the Matrix. It's not going to spawn up one day, while we're just waiting. They have to build the infrastructure first. They have to build the podiums and the base for us to be housed in said matrix. And I know this sounds all wild, but like I said, whenever you look at all of the peripheral events surrounding the idea of creating a matrix, I would say we're well enough on our way. The Happy Goggles, they're now going to be included in the McDonald's Happy Meal in Sweden. The idea behind it is being able to give your child the authentic experience of virtual reality through the Happy Meal box. And I feel like, well, whenever you look at it, who is one of the biggest proponents of the New World Order? McDonald's. All of the GMO foods that I don't even know if you would call it food, but the GMO food that they're shoving down the throats of people these days. You see, so this will further the dementia and further the psychosis and further more and more of these physical problems that we have, while simultaneously entertaining the idea that we need to go inside of this matrix. And this is the whole duality of the technocracy, is to leave the old world, to leave the ruined physical corrupt world, and to go into this digital paradise, this matrix, this virtual reality provided by these people, the technocrats. And that's what we really need to start looking at. And I feel like people don't understand is who is providing all of these fantastic technologies. Who's giving us access to all of these technologies that are at least 20 to 30 years old. And if you want to even go back as far as 50 or 60, you see, you can do that whenever you start looking at the IBM Watson, okay, a supercomputer that was used in World War I as well as World War II. It was the device that, like I said, was the one that stamped the Jews during the Holocaust, the prisoners during the Holocaust. They have ties to Hitler. And no, they did not stop working, okay? Just like Fanta and a number of other Coca-Cola subsidiaries, they maintained relationships with the Germans during World War II. Okay, the idea behind that is look at this. And this goes along the idea of technology just now being released and popularized. Unmanned aerial vehicles, okay, UAVs, those are drones. How long have they been in production and used in warfare? We have bomb robots, we have tank robots, okay, we have a number of autonomous weapons in use already, but we're just now starting to talk about the ethical implications of them. And I cannot stress this enough, whenever you look back, you can see the history of these things being built. They're tested, they're subtly put out in media and in entertainment, and then they're brought back. Okay, and why Watson is so crucial is look at what they're doing now. You see, they're trying to tell us when to sleep. They're trying to get our vitals. I thought this was very strange whenever we had that come out with the Apple Watch as well. We have a number of wearable technologies which can monitor our biological functions. And this is strange because who has this information? Not only are they allowed to have our biometrics through CCTVs, closed circuit televisions, but they are now starting to get our actual biological composition through these technologies. So whenever the NSA comes out and says, we are not collecting your information or your data, we're collecting your metadata. Well, what is this? Is this not metadata? You see. And this is more of what I would consider the Matrix technologies. And there's a number of examples which I could choose. But the idea that I'm trying to get across to you guys is the fact that we are consistently being monitored and experimented upon. This is why even in the Bible, it tells us we need to be sober and vigilant. A pothead is not going to care about who has his biometric information. And I'm not taking a stab at people who smoke pot. I understand, it's a curative. It has curative purposes. It's able to help people regress from cancer. I understand. But, when you look at the GMO food, do you not think that there is genetically modified weed or marijuana? Okay. So there's a number of things that we have to look at that these technocrats are doing to try to gauge us and experiment upon us. In closing, I wanted to go over Initiative 732. Okay, and the idea behind it is they want to offer an alternative proposal or an automatically pass the carbon tax measure to voters in November as written. The grassroots group Carbon Washington says a carbon tax encourages people and businesses to switch to cleaner energy by making fossil fuels more expensive. Okay? Washington would become one of the first states to impose a direct tax on carbon emissions from fossil fuels such as coal, gasoline, and natural gas. The legislator would create a carbon tax of $25 per metric ton of fossil fuel emissions burned in Washington. So here it is, guys. Get ready to pretty much get to pay to live. Okay, and this is the technocracy. This is them openly coming out and saying that they know what is best for us. And that right now, as humans, we have no idea how to clean up our act or how to take care of the planet. And that if we don't have a cleanup, a carbon cleanup, a economic reformation, that we will essentially ruin the planet. And if we're not with this new ideology, this new world order, well, then we're just not with the system, this beast system. And I most certainly am not with the beast system. That's all I got for you guys in this edition of Crisis Corner, the rise of the technocracy. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below all of this. I know I kind of went over a lot, but that shows you how it goes whenever you're staring at this new world order. They're trying to confuse us with all this fancy terminology, but we can see past that. And I'd like to take this time to point you guys in the direction of our exclusive content. I'll have the link in the description bar underneath all this. You can subscribe to everything that we're doing because YouTube, sometimes like to take down the videos that I can't put out. And so I have a lot of backlog content that I have just saved up for you guys if you want to check it out. You can download them after you've subscribed and then share it to the people because it doesn't do us any good to have this information. And this is the kind of stuff that people need to know about, okay? Your simple action of subscribing to the page, downloading it, and getting it out there lets other people know that, first off, they're not crazy. Secondly, there are people that are looking at the facts surrounding everything and wondering what's going on. That you don't have to do all that work. But, hey, what do I know? I'm just one guy. That's all I really got for you guys. And as always, stay vigilant. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, out.